Hello there, soldier. I take it that you're watching this video means you want to learn about Overwatch, yes? Well, good. That is what we'll be doing here. But first, I just need to cover two tiny things if that's alright with you. First, my name is Jinx Agnix, or Mama Jinx if you prefer. Even just Mom will do if you like. Second, I'll be working off the assumption that you have a basic understanding of first-person shooters, or FPSs if you will, but have little to no experience playing Overwatch, which is to say I'll be covering the most basics of basics in this particular video. We'll get to more advanced things later on, but feel free to stick around anyway if you feel you could use a refresher or just like the sound of my voice. Anyway, without further ado, though this game may look like a standard FPS at a glance, it actually belongs to a particular vein of shooters known as hero shooters, which is to say that each playable character has their own abilities, strengths, and weaknesses, and that rather than simply try to rack up the most kills, you and your team must work together to accomplish a common goal. We'll get into the specifics of what each of these goals are, but first, let's cover a few basic things, shall we? For example, the practice range. Once you have the game booted up, you'll find a menu listing several options, and while I understand wanting to jump right into play, I highly recommend you select Training, then Practice Range first, so you can get an idea of what all the buttons do. Here you can try out all the heroes in a safe environment with only clockwork bots to use for target practice and the like. I know it's hardly a substitute for the real game, but it's best to know what your on-screen avatar can actually do and what buttons to press beforehand. Otherwise, you may find yourself simply trying to shoot down foes and suddenly your team shouts, "We need Bob, get Bob," then blame you when you lose, as if you should know who this Bob guy is and how to get him to join your game. Health. Yes, really, health. In most modern FPSs, damage is indicated by your vision blurring and turning red, regenerating after you stop getting hit for a moment, but here, not so much. Here, health actually comes in three forms and is shown by a gauge in the lower left. Each type is indicated by its own color and behaves in a different way. Let's briefly cover each one, shall we? Health, indicated by the white portion of your life bar, is the most common form of hit points in the game. Every hero has at least some amount of this. Health doesn't do anything particularly interesting other than allow you to stay alive, as once you run out, you die. Unlike in most modern FPSs, your health does not regenerate on its own, so when you run low, you'll have to find a health pack, get help from one of your team's healers, or in some cases, use a self-healing ability, but not all heroes have these, so try to pay attention to who is on your team and where they are at the moment. Armor, as indicated by the yellow portion of your health bar. An enemy must break through all your armor before they can do anything to your health, and what's more, any attack that would do 10 damage or less will be halved, while an attack that would deal 11 or more will be reduced by 5. Yeah, I know, it doesn't sound like much, but it's more useful than you would think. And finally, shields, as indicated by the blue portion of your life bar. Your enemies will have to break through your shields before they can damage your health or armor. Unlike armor, they take the same damage as health, but unlike health, they do regenerate on their own. They do so at a rate of 20 shields per second, but you will first have to stop taking any damage for 3 seconds. Yeah, much slower than most modern FPSs, I know. It's not meant to make you an immortal god, but to give you some way of getting health back on your own. Also, be aware that only the shield portion of your life bar will regenerate on its own. So, if you have 100 shield and 100 health and get hit for 120 damage, you'll only be able to regenerate up to 180 life. Ammunition. Your current and maximum ammo is shown in the lower right corner of the screen. As in most games where you have a gun, you can, and sometimes will, run out of ammo. How do you get more, you ask? You reload. No, really. All Overwatch characters somehow have unlimited ammunition. Their clips are only so big, so they have to reload, but they have an unlimited supply of ammunition. How do they carry it? Where did they get it? I don't know. But keep in mind, reloading takes a little time, so try to do it when enemies aren't around. Abilities. Yet another thing to set Overwatch apart from traditional FPSs. You can think of them as being a bit like hand grenades in a traditional FPS, but rather than simply lob a small explosive, you can do any number of things. Build a wall of ice to block a path, take to the skies for a short time, transform yourself into a mounted turret, or even just throw a small explosive. We'll save what each hero can do for a later video, though. Modes. And finally, the true goal of Overwatch. Unlike most FPSs where you and your team rack up points by simply killing everyone on the other side, hero shooters will give each side an objective, and whichever side accomplishes their goal will be declared the winners. Overwatch takes this a little further by always having 12 players in each match, with 6 on each side so that nobody may win on sheer numbers, only through their combined skills and teamwork. The actual goal varies from map to map. Maps may have many goals, but I will be limiting this video to the 4 modes found in Quick Play Classic, otherwise we would be here much longer than I think either of us would like. Assault. 2 points are marked on the map. One team must attempt to capture those points one after the other by having one or more of their teammates stand on the point long enough within the allotted time, while the other team must try to stop them from doing just that by standing on the point with them, known as contesting, killing them, or otherwise removing them from the point. Escort. One team must have one or more of their members stand next to what the game calls a payload in order to make it move forward to its intended goal within the allotted time, while the other must try to stop them from doing just that using the same means as with assault. Hybrid. Literally a hybrid of assault and escort. One team must first capture a point to unlock, then escort a payload while the other team tries to stop them, again by contesting, killing, or otherwise removing them from the point or payload. Control. Both teams must attempt to capture a point by having one or more of their teams stand on the point long enough. Once the point is captured, it slowly fills a percentage for that team. The first team to make it to 100% wins, and whichever team currently controls the point may contest it. Yes, a little vague, I know, but I think you get the general idea for now, and I'd be more than happy to make a more in-depth video on game modes sometime. But for now, let's go over a few bad habits many new players have. Now, while I won't doubt or question your skills in whatever FPSs you have played before, as I stated earlier, Overwatch is not quite like those games, and while some things you have learned, like aiming and avoiding sniper sightlines, will translate over, not everything that works well there will get the same result here. There's quite a few, but I'd like to go over 6 of what seem to be the most common among new players, at least from what I have seen. Never rethinking your main. Now, this is probably not even something you picked up in another FPS per se, but I have seen many people pick a hero because some part of them reminds them of another game, or because they like the idea of that hero, then struggling with that hero no matter how much time they put in, only to do really well when they finally make the switch to someone else. So if you have trouble with hero, maybe try some of the others, even ones that you didn't think much of at first. I know that Widowmaker's sniper rifle SMG hybrid is cool, and that Reinhardt's hammer is big and does a lot of damage, but try giving the other heroes a chance. Some of them may shock you. You may first think Sigma's hyperspheres would be hard to aim, but quickly find that exploiting angles and judging distances comes easily to you. You may like Brigitte for her ability to heal everybody simply by attacking her enemies, but find that Mercy's simplistic healing and buffing is much more suited to your playstyle. You may love Reaper just for his lifesteal passive, but find that sneaking around as Sombra is much more fun for you. What I'm saying is that there's a wide range of heroes, and there's no shame in giving them all a go, so don't judge them too much till you give them a real shot. Some of them may just shock you. Next, your KD ratio. Simply put, it doesn't exist. The game does not track it for you, and nobody is all that impressed with it. Sometimes the coolest and most useful thing you can do for your team is to heroically sacrifice yourself. Stand in the way of that Widowmaker's shot, giving up your life so that your Mercy can keep the rest of the team alive for that last push. Let Junkrat chase you down and slaughter you so your Bastion can position himself properly and finally clear the choke point, which isn't to say you should act like a suicidal lunatic all the time. Sometimes you should pull back and try to recover a bit. Sometimes you need to go out and make high-risk, high-reward plays, and sometimes you need to make that sacrifice so your team can win. Find that middle ground betwixt Death Wish and Coward. Showboating. In most of these multiplayer FPSs, there's not much in the way of teamwork. Sure, you may flank now and again, but in Overwatch, many of the heroes' abilities work really well together. In Halo, you'd need the luck of 5 leprechauns to be able to walk out in front of 6 foes and come out the survivor. But in Overwatch, you have a team of 5 other people at your back. Your Reinhardt and Orisa can set up their shields to block the enemy damage, while Mercy grants you 30% damage buff, Mei slows and stops the foes who wouldn't stop fidgeting around, and Ana keeps everyone's health topped off. But such things only become not only possible, but relatively easy when you work together. By jumping in front of those shields to show everyone how you can do it yourself, you not only make yourself very vulnerable, but could easily leave your team a man down, weakening them as a whole. Any team is always strongest when they work together. Teamwork is the most powerful thing in the game, and the only OP thing Blizzard can't and won't nerf. Spreading out. In most FPSs, this is in fact a good idea. Not putting all your eggs in one basket. Even in some hero shooters, this is still a good idea. In Overwatch, not so much. True, some heroes like Widowmaker, Ana, and Genji are meant to break rank a bit, to stand a bit behind, in front, or to the side of the action much of the time. But standing halfway across the map is rarely a good idea. Yes, there are times where it may be useful, and standing together in a clump is rarely a good plan. Sometimes you even need to scatter when a large AoE attack is headed your way to minimize casualties, but think before you break rank, and always have a plan to get back to the group when you need them, or they need you. Running ahead. Yes, I know. Some of the heroes have one or more ways of moving very quickly, of getting where they need to be before anyone else. But among Overwatch's many modes, foot race is nowhere on the list. The control point does not unlock right away. The payload only moves when at least one person stands near it, and moves faster as more people stand around it. You must capture the points in the correct order anyway, so zipping ahead is not only very likely to get you killed, but rarely yields any helpful results. As always, there are times when you should, like to contest that point or payload to buy your team an extra second or two to get on the point, but breaking rank just to say you got to the battle first tends to leave a bragging corpse. And finally, camping. Blizzard was not the first to make an FPS game. In fact, they weren't even the first to make a hero shooter game. They heard the complaints of campers and remedied it before the game was even on the shelves by giving all spawn points multiple exits and making sure every sniper spot was either a tall pillar where everyone can see you and take pot shots at you, or had entrances on more than one side, not to mention all the heroes with teleports, placeable barriers, and defense boosters, which isn't to say don't bother sniping, just that by design, there is no truly safe spot for a sniper. No matter how good the spot is at first, a competent team will always be able to get you eventually. So, change spots now and again. Also, in case your muscle memory got the best of you and your health does not regenerate on its own, and even then, not normally that fast, simply hunkering down to have a little cry won't do you much good for long. Your best bet is normally self-healing or finding one of your team's healers. Spamming "I need healing" tends to get bothersome, but don't be shy to ask for help if you get hurt, even if a health pack is nearby. Sometimes your healers need it too, and most of them can't heal themselves quite as easily as they can heal you. Hey, look at that soldier. You made it to the end of my video. At the time of uploading, this is all I have for you, but please consider subscribing if you would, hit that bell so you're notified when I post a new video, like the video if you learned something new, maybe even leave a comment if you could, as that gets me promoted more than anything else. It doesn't need to be anything insightful, so long as it isn't something that needs to be flagged as spam. Even just, "Thanks mama, your voice is soothing," or even, "You suck, uninstall Overwatch," helps just as much as anything else. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you all have fun and help others do the same, and I do hope to see you again later.